Everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to share and to speak to you. Okay,
yes,
can
I
you
can see it now.
Yeah. Okay, great. So the title of my presentation is about fortifying your network infrastructure against cyber attacks. So in Kenny's presentation, right, he spoke about the criticality and the importance of maintaining visibility, automation, and control. In this section, I'll be just reinforcing on everything they're saying, but except that I'll be contextualizing against how you can actually leverage and how you can actually move forward to drive better fortification across your network. As you know right now, network and cybersecurity is the line between them is becoming blurrer and blurrer, that we need to rethink about how do we collaborate and how do we work together. But on that note, you know, when on that note, and my screen is not moving, just give me a minute. Okay, on that note, I did a quick research and I found that in India, right, these are your top security threats for you to be mindful of and to actually watch out in 2020. The source of this is below over here, right? It's from the Economic Times in India, and essentially it's all about, you know, how do you protect yourself? How do you better protect yourself, right? How do you, you know, manage yourself from remote work attacks? Because now increasingly, what we find in India is that remote work is more of a day-to-day activity and will become the new part of the new normal, as Kenny has actually highlighted. How do you mitigate against, you know, potential vulnerabilities that you have on your cloud? We all know that as we embrace digital transformation, cloud is the go-to platform that we look at as part of our digital transformation journey. So as a result of that, how do we manage and how do we mitigate against those vulnerabilities? And at the same time, when we think about digital transformation, we also find that more and more companies are also looking at the Internet of Things, embracing this as part of their entire repertoire of infrastructure and IT solution to better manage, to better drive greater efficiency and effectiveness in the way that they drive their business workflows, in the way that they deliver their value to their customers, and also to drive greater internal efficiency as well. And at the same time, you know, customers are also concerned about the rise of ransomware. And on this note of ransomware, we also recently saw two main ransomware attacks that took place in India. SpiceJet, you know, I think that took place just a couple of days ago, right, whereby passengers were grounded all across India airports because of a ransomware attack. And in the numerous articles that I actually went through, they still haven't quite found the root cause and actually how it actually infiltrated. But one of the things they spoke about is the whole digitalization process is very complex. So complexity is the enemy of security, because with complexity, you get blindsided to your entire workflow. And as a result of that, you need to have that visibility. And that was why in Kenny's presentation, there is a huge focus on visibility, because it is through visibility that you can be able to adapt and to establish the right level of controls for you to drive your security. The second one as well, I'm sure all of you are aware, is Indian Oil, whereby there was also another ransomware attack, which quite frankly, India is not the only country that is concerned about ransomware. Every country that I've spoken to across Asia Pacific, every organization is all concerned about ransomware. Anyway, coming back to India Oil, we all know that from that ransomware attack, what has happened is that it's impacted the oil server, the networks, and other related services that has caused a major disruption in the operation of India Oil. And finally, data protection. Now, over here, data protection comes in many forms, right? The one that we would like to focus on is the whole thing around mitigating data exfiltration via the DNS traffic. And I'll go through why. And over throughout this presentation, you'll see why the emphasis on focusing on security on your DNS. And as a result of that, what can you do to improve that so that you can mitigate against this? So at this point, I just want to invite a quick polling question right now. And I just want to know, what is the most difficult security challenge you face in managing your IT infrastructure? Can I have the polling question, please? Yeah. So just a quick poll. Is it protecting your data and containing threats? You know, and the keyword here is most difficult security challenge that you face. Is it keeping applications available and performing during an attack? Or is it recovering after a cyber attack? Or is it what you call it, avoiding overburdening your already limited IT resources, or is it full visibility and awareness of everything that's happening across your network? Which one is it for you? I'm going to give you another 10 more seconds to complete the poll, and I'm really eager to hear what your thoughts are about this. Okay. The majority of you, about 37% of you, actually indicated that full visibility and awareness is the most challenging, is the most difficult challenge that you face in cybersecurity. 33% of you indicated that protecting your data. Yes, data protection is very important, and containing threats is also very important. Don't get me wrong on that. And then the least of you say keeping applications available to perform during a cyber attack, because you want to focus all your efforts on that. Thank you very much for your feedback on this. Well, actually, the answer that I was actually looking for is the last one, number 5. You know, it's all about full visibility and awareness of everything that's happening on your internet, everything that's happening on your network. And over here, your network is not just your immediate network, is not just your on-prem network. Your network or your digital platform is now your on-prem solution, your cloud application, your cloud environment, and your edge. So one of the biggest challenge that I've spoken to many organizations is that they are hard pressed to really get visibility across this entire platform. And the reason for that is because when you think about the business per se, right, there's a symbiotic relationship between your digital footprint and your business. Because when the business shifts, when the business changes, your digital footprint will change and your cybersecurity requirements changes as well. So one of the things you really need from a business standpoint to really achieve is all about managing your risk. The next thing you need to think about from a footprint perspective in terms of your on-prem, your cloud, and your edge is that visibility. Because with that, then you can look at how do you achieve compliance, how do you achieve control, and more importantly, how do you harmonize your security across the entire platform? Because we all agree that everybody is actually embracing digital transformation, and everybody is using the network for the digital platform as part of the way that you run your business, as part of your business operation. But as you transform and as you move more of your workloads onto the cloud and onto the digital platform, you increase operational complexities. And with that, sometimes you get blindsided by the things that actually happening in your environment. Now, the value over here is that DNS across this entire environment, whether it's on-prem or on cloud or at the edge, is the first point of contact. So what I'm urging many organizations to do is to actually harness and to take full advantage of the fact that you already have this in place. Why not leverage it? Why not, get visibility from that? And because now your network, your digital network is your business, is part of your business outreach program, is part of your business operation, right? You should also think about how do you weaponize, how do you fortify your infrastructure and weaponize DNS so that it can also be your first line of defense and first line of protection, because it is the baseline connectivity across your entire board. And at the same time, you think about it, DNS can also be used as a sensor across your network so that you get that visibility, the thing that a lot of the organizations have been sharing with us. So when we think about the new normal that we are hopefully getting into right now in the post-COVID era, all these activities are commonplace that we are seeing, with the one which is more significant, which is remote work. Now, I'm not saying that remote work is absolutely new, but what I'm saying is that right now we are shifting in the way that we are working, right? In the past, we have road warriors, whereby we have VPN, dedicated VPN, that allow them to connect back to the corporate environment. But right now, because of the number of people doing remote work, VPN is no longer an effective solution, or it's no longer a cost-effective solution, right? We need to rethink how do we manage and how do we protect our people who are working from home. And this is, a quote from the Economic Times again, that has actually indicated that 64% of remote work are considering following a hybrid environment. And this seems to be the biggest trend right now in India, right? And whether it's remote work or whether it's hybrid, right? This will become the new wave, and this will become the new way of doing things. And therefore, as employees, right, of people who will be embracing this, we need to rethink about how can we secure them. Now, on that same note, there are also all these other activities that came off the pandemic, right? Of course, online entertainment and shopping has always been there, but telemedicine, robotics, and distant learning were things of the past, but right now they are becoming more mainstream. Even this event that we're holding right now, prior to COVID, would not be available, would not be heard of. People will not be open to the idea. But right now, as we are getting out of COVID, right, these are all becoming mainstream, and it's the network underneath this that supports the performance and the service availability that becomes important. And therefore, we need to look at how do we secure that, how do we manage that, and how do we make sure that we have availability of services and of applications as the process goes, and how do we minimize the attack. Now, the reason this is becoming a key issue is because a couple of security challenges, Kenny has already highlighted to you that, and very clearly, the fixed perimeter does not exist. So we're living in a borderless environment right now. At the same time, with this fluid environment, the entire digital business, is also very fluid, because as your business change, your digital footprint changes as well, and so must your cybersecurity. And as a result of these kinds of business expansion and contraction, right, there are multiple ways of getting in and out of the organization increasingly. So from that standpoint, from a cyber defender, it's a major headache, because our attack surface have now suddenly enlarged. Now, to make things worse, right, on a daily basis, we find that different parts of the business are actually trying to introduce new and new ways of driving digitalization into the business, and hence increasing the operational efficiency, increasing the operational complexity to the entire fold of the way that the business runs. Because if we sit back and we think from a security standpoint, complexity is the enemy of security. So if complexity is the enemy of security, what can we do? The thing we need to achieve in between this to manage this complexity is get visibility. This becomes very important. Excuse my very bad handwriting over there. So on that note, I have a quick polling question for everybody right now. Right, with this enlarged attack surface, what do you think are the number of ways that attacker can get in and out of the organization? And can I have the poll just to see what the audience think about this? What are the entry and exit technology choke points into and out of your digital business? Sit down and think about that for a while. What are the things you're defending? What are the things you're considering? What are the things you are paying attention to? 90% of you say all of the above. And it's interesting that and you're right, it is all of the above. Because when you think about it, right, that is the reason why we have the different types of solutions. We have email isolation technology, we have web isolation technology, we have web gateway, we have web application firewall, and right now we also have DNS. We need to start thinking about protecting the DNS. And why is this important? Before I go into the why, let's look at what has been happening. If you look at what's happening in the media and in the press, everybody has been shouting that the DNS is a platform that needs to be protected. We need to rethink about how do we block, malware from actually infiltrating and exfiltrating from the DNS. There has been a numerous number of attacks happening, like for example in Singapore, attacks through DNS breaches that exceeded the 1 million mark, right? So basically, we need to rethink about our security, whereby I know that in my conversations with a lot of executives, they're concerned about email security, or rather blocking and protecting the email as a platform, and blocking and protecting web as a platform of getting in and out of the organization. But not many of them think about DNS, because it's so far away down in the plumbing. And let's put things in perspective right now. Why we need to start thinking about it. Okay, so if you look at this simple cyber threat and response landscape, the evolution of it, for every attack, there's an equal and opposite, defend, right? But somewhere over here, right, it becomes really red. And these evolutions have some major milestones, major technology milestones. Like in 2016, we started to embrace the cloud. Then we have smartphones coming into the picture. 2015, we started to really look at digital transformation. And right now, we are looking at, the whole work from home. So maybe I can do a quick poll right now. What do you think is that significant event or significant cyber event that actually caused exploitation of DNS to go blood red between 2010 to today? Can I have the polling, please, for that? Okay, what was a significant cyber event that happened between 2010 until today that heavily leveraged DNS? Is it insider threat? Is it hacktivism? Is it all of the above attacks, or is it ransomware? Okay, can we share with everybody the answer? The answer is not all of the above. The answer is actually ransomware. WannaCry, state-sponsored attacks and everything were the main drivers. And if you look at the anatomy of the attack, right, when you look at the anatomy of a ransomware attack, one of the things they actually do is that they actually exploit the DNS for command and control. They can also exploit the DNS traffic to infiltrate into the organization. So this is just a quick snapshot. I just wanted to show you what the anatomy of a ransomware attack actually looks like so that you can appreciate why this is important. Now, having described this, right, when we look at our current defense in depth, right, we are very focused on port 80 and port 443. And over time, in lieu of the previous diagram, up to let's say mid 2015, we started to build a very comprehensive defense in depth in our entire cybersecurity posture. However, what the hackers have actually uncovered is that the DNS traffic is not monitored, is not secured. And we have also uncovered from a Cisco report that 68% of companies do not monitor their recursive DNS traffic. And the DNS traffic is also the number one traffic where we find command and control malware, exploiting and taking advantage of. So as we build, as we defend, and as we look at protecting ourselves against the early attacks with next generation firewall and so on, the reason why that became more and more rare with the increased number of ransomware, we completely overlooked the fact that they were exploiting DNS. Hence, as a result, organizations started to introduce DLP version 2, UABA, risk management, individual risk score for the individual, thinking that these will be the sort of solution. It is not until late 2021, right, that we started to see DNS requirements, starting to appear in the compliance frameworks, like for example the RBI, for example, only the most recent copy of it, the regulation for banks, for example, indicated the need to protect DNS. So as we describe this, right, there's a huge amount of education that a lot of people need to acquire in order for them to appreciate that they need to rethink about their cybersecurity, whereby it's not just protecting port 80 and port 443, but you also need to protect port 53, which is generally unguarded. So when you think about DNS and its potential threats, right, it can be a way to infiltrate into the organization through cache poisoning and DNS tunneling, right, and also drop into the organization exploits. It can also be a way of exfiltration. So one of the things that we find very often is that ransomware, double attack ransomware, what they do is that they leverage on the DNS traffic for the hidden communication, and then at the same time, right, they then send a command to do data exfiltration before they encrypt the data to send that ransom note. And this becomes very heavy because they know that companies are becoming smarter. They are actually looking at what are the mitigation strategies they can use to mitigate against that. So they actually exfiltrate the data. So they use the DNS to exfiltrate as well as to communicate. And also the rise of lookalike domains as well, and other forms of hidden communication. So this is just a quick snapshot of the different kinds of threats organizations can experience if they do not protect and if they do not monitor their DNS. Okay. And why do cyber criminals like to exploit the DNS? Well, from the hacker's perspective, it's cheap, it's easy to exploit because it's harder to detect and it's harder to defend, because 68% of companies out there are not really looking at it. And the other reason is because from a company's perspective, when they actually undergo or experience a breach, right, they rarely shut down their DNS services during an attack. they actually huddle together and hope and really do their darnest with the existing security defenses to try to contain and try to stop that attack. So if you think about it from this standpoint, then this platform, this channel will always be open for hackers to really take advantage of. And when you think about DNS, right, what comes to mind is that it's the first point of contact for everything. It's the first point of contact for all online application, all online data. It's also the first point of contact for any kind of malicious activity that wants to come into your environment. It's also the point of contact for your IoT devices and also for any new initiatives that you may have that actually seeks to connects back to your environment. Now, a simple quote from Anne from NSA, right? What she says is that if you secure your DNS, you can reduce the ability for malware attacks success rate by up to 92%. So this shows how powerful and how critical is it for us to look at protecting DNS. And by the way, NSA has also just recently issued a mandate that depicts the criticality of protecting DNS, and this has really gone out to the different federal institutions and agencies in the US. So let's put things in perspective. When we keep thinking about DNS, it's a very isolated and it's a very segregated discussion. But what I'm urging everybody to rethink about is, if used separately, all you have for the DNS is just a point of connection, a point of connection and introduction into your network, which you could actually make it work harder. And you should think about the other elements in your environment as well, DHCP and IPAM. Right now, people are using IPAM to move away from a manual Excel spreadsheet, and then DHCP is more for the IP assignment. Now, what I'm urging everybody to think about is you should be looking at finding the symbiotic relationship and getting them to work together in concert. Because when you do that, what you are able to achieve is to what Kenny has actually described, which is the first thing, right, around DNS is the ability to detect and the ability to identify and deploy remedial actions through the domain. And at the same time, get that visibility and maintain that control. So over here with IPAM, here is where you'll get that visibility that you need, that risk assessment, that understanding of everything that's happening in your network. And over here, right, you get the ability to look at what kind of controls you want to apply to your network so that it becomes that form of deployment to control or deny entry into the network. So in essence, at the end of the day, it gives you that visibility of how to prioritize and apply the necessary control mechanism across your digital platform. Now, this is just not an on-prem solution. It's an on-prem, cloud, as well as at the edge solution. So do leverage this. It's already there. You are already using it. Make full use of it. Make it work harder for you. So the key takeaways that I have for you essentially is the reinforcement about you need that visibility. DNS can give you that visibility. Once DNS has given you that visibility, there is another aspect of DNS that we can help you drive greater automation by reintegrating into your existing security stack. And with that automation, you can then apply the necessary control, not just on-prem, but also on cloud, a unified control, because you would have unified visibility to allow you to establish that unified control across your entire environment so that you can drive a more effective total cost to your entire security investment across your security stack, not just the Infoblox solution, but your security stack in general. And with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.